time I turn on YouTube, you are on somebody's panel, you're in somebody's chat supporting, you're in my chat supporting me so graciously. And I really, really appreciate that. And so, you know, if you invite me to come on, you just tell me what time. You just tell me what time, and I am here.
All right, now I got my audio. I got you. Okay, let me go back. Salute, 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 salute. You could have been anywhere on these YouTube streets, but you came here tonight to rock out with Uncle Stu, the old man on the block. You know, I just want y'all to know that, you know, I'm a little stuffed. You know, now you ADOS and you FBA brothers, y'all know nothing about this. So, you know, let me just let y'all know, you know, we back here eating red beans and rice. You know, I got some curdy goat and some good old cabbage, you know, and drinking some ginger beer. And you know, when we get off this stream, I got a nice peanut punch waiting in the refrigerator. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all know nothing about that. But we'll get into that later on. But I just want everybody to know that I thank each and every single one of y'all here tonight. As you know, I was sick for a little while, but then, you know, I got swooped up by the Passport Bros. And let me tell you, they had me all over the world. So I got to hang out with Master One, Teacher. I got to hang out with Crossing the Borders. I got to hang out with Courtney Michelle. I got to hang out with Zoom to Thailand. So now I'm back in the United States, but I had to go travel all the way to Jamaica. And then I had to leave Jamaica and come to Texas. And now I'm back on the East Coast because I had to make some phone calls to a brother named Idris Elba. You know, y'all know that brother, you know, the brother out of Britain, you know, he got them sister wives, you know, and I was trying to get one of the sister wives to come to the panel tonight. So, you know, I had to get permission from my husband, you know, and whatnot. So between, you know, sister wife one, sister wife two, which is Gail, you know, we had to get permission. So, you know, I want to shout out to Ibra. Appreciate you, Ibra, for allowing us to have your, you know, first wife here tonight with us. Salute, salute, sir. But tonight, we got a young lady who has been recognized in Uganda, Africa, as being one of the 5 most beautiful women who's on these YouTube streets spitting game, talking junk, and yet still holding it down in her own way. So, you know, tonight we're going to be introduced to this young woman. So now, while I read the chat, you know, I just got to know, where is everybody from? So I want y'all to do me a favor and just put it in the chat where we being represented at. You know, over here, I'm in the DMV, always holding it down. But y'all know my heart, my soul is for NYC. So NYC will always be a part of me. Yeah, we got the ATL before the Billions is in the house. Ricky Weber holding it down for Birmingham, Alabama. Luke Hazy holding it down in the Sunshine State. And PARM holding it down for Pennsylvania. And the Lioness Videography holding it down for the ATL. And Everyday Life Up and Archditch Chick, holding it down in the DMV. And then the brother, the one, the only that set it off on these YouTube streets with the $10 super chat, Lakeda Marcy from Tampa area, holding it down in Florida. And the Senate of Al Gore holding it down in LA, California. Mosaic with TJ running it off, holding it down in the DFW. Yes, yes. And my boy Dre Blanco is in the house, holding it down. He holding it down for 2 states, y'all. He got NYC on one side. He got ATL on the other side. And then we got Selena Haywood holding it down. A newbie from NYC is in the house. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So now, then we're going to make this a little bit clear. Let me switch my camera because I just want to show this. We are getting ready to do some great things. And there are some people. Let me see if I got the right camera to do this now. Let me see. Wrong camera. Uncle Stu getting a little slow. There we go. All right. I want to shout out Mere Words and Expressions. She is going to be doing a lot of Uncle Stu's stuff. And she got this for us. As you see, it says strong, powerful, important king, confident, special, smart, unique. So y'all check it out. Hopefully by next week, I will be having her on my Instagram, and she's going to definitely be one of the people that y'all will probably see on the platform and introducing her business. And she has did nothing but showed Uncle Stu love, you know, and I love her. And if she's listening in the back, you know, I need her to know she's also one of my biggest junk talkers, y'all. But, you know, I got to love on this woman because she is a Delta woman. Y'all know about them Deltas. So we're going to represent her in the Delta area. So she's a Delta. Let me switch my camera. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me get it right back here. All right. So now, without further ado, let me see. What's his name told me I had to make sure I had the right background music. So let me show you. Yeah, y'all know we gotta get it right up in here. So here you go. Here you go, y'all. When Idris Elba wanted to find his one and only woman, he called this woman. And when O.J. Duke Jackson didn't know what to do when it came to the YouTube street, he called this woman. And when Uncle Stu wanted some international food, he said he had to go get him some good Jamaican food. So he flew all the way to Jamaica to go get this woman. So ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one and only Chantel Seymour. What's going on?
Hey, Uncle Stu. I'm loving this music. I'm not even gonna lie.
You're loving it. look, I got them big time engineers, you know what I'm saying? So they be like, Uncle Stu, you gotta step up your game, Uncle Stu. You gotta step it up. So they made sure I stepped it up. So y'all give a big shout out for Before the Billions. That's the one that's been running my backdrop and making sure that Uncle Stu is right and whatnot. So we're gonna give a big shout out to the one and only Before the Billions in the house. Appreciate you, sir. So how are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for inviting me on. And thank you so much for acknowledging Idris Elba in my life.
Yes. I had to look. I was going to get beat up one way or another. See, if I didn't get beat up by you, then Gail would got me. So I had to acknowledge his sister wives. That's the new thing. I understand. It was cool. I had to get in contact with my passport bros in order to get to your husband. Else I would have never. I would have never been able to get my connection.
Appreciated. Your efforts are appreciated.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming here today and gracing the platform, with your presence and with your knowledge and wisdom tonight. Let's get into who is Chantel. Where are you? I know the Jamaica, so I had to represent Jamaica.
Yes.
But you being from Jamaica, like how long did you live in Jamaica?
Well, I was born in Jamaica, and then I moved to America when I was young, and then I moved back to Jamaica until I was 15. And then I permanently moved to America at 15.
Okay. So how was your transition? Because I know I grew up in New York. So there's a lot of Jamaicans in New York, a lot of people from the islands in New York. So I'm very well, connected in that regards. But I also know that in other areas outside of New York, because New York is just an international market. So it's kind of hard to sit up there and say, well, the experiences of a Jamaican in say New York is the same experiences that they would have in other states. Right.
Well, when I moved to Florida, so it's very similar to New York, where you'll see a lot of Jamaicans and stuff. So like we did find our community.
Okay.
In South Florida, it wasn't until I moved to Dallas that's when I started realizing a culture differences where, because I'm so used to Florida, and I'm so used to people non immigrants in Florida accepting immigrants and accepting other cultures. Is not until I got on YouTube and moved to Dallas that's when I realized that it's not a lot of people are familiar with immigrants. Right. Yeah.
So with that transition, let me just give a big shout out to one of your sisters in the chat, Kareem. She is my Jamaican sister. Look, Kareem, I didn't even have to get on the dollar van to go find her. I just want you to know now. But with that transition, how did it shape your thinking, whether thinking about America or just thinking about, I'm presuming you had more of a pushback or a social pushback from African Americans. How was that transition?
As I said, because I moved to Florida, I had a lot of Caribbean friends. I had a lot of Jamaicans and Haitian friends going in school and in college. So it's not until like my adult life, like in being in Dallas and then being on YouTube, that's when I realized that a lot of Americans, I give a lot of grace. It's like I would give them a lot of benefit of the doubt and say that maybe they're just from states or cities that a lot of immigrants don't go to. So a lot of times when like they'll give me pushback, a lot of times they'll say Black people aren't, I'm not Black, or they'll make fun of my accents, how I pronounce certain words. I just try to give them some grace, like that lack of knowledge. And that's why I encourage people to travel more, to expand their mind and learn, and how to respect other people's culture.
Yeah, I will definitely, I am definitely an advocate of it. Number one, I've been graced to travel this world twice over, you know, being the age that I am, know a lot about the political issues that's going on in Jamaica. You're probably way too young to be knowing about those serious. Let's get out of Kingston.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew the real Jamaicans that had to go. It was a life or death situation. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm very familiar with that. I've always studied the politics going on in Jamaica. I've always studied the politics of what was going on in Haiti. So I'm very much connected to knowing what's going on in Jamaica, what's going on in Haiti. I was always surrounded by a lot of Nigerians, so I knew what was going on in Nigeria. As a child, I was part of the real Pan-African movement. So I was down with, when South Africa had to be freed. So I was blessed in the fact that I knew what was going on, around the world. So, I don't really have that strong anti-immigrant because I understood, the diaspora of slavery. Jamaica was one of the first places. It was Jamaica, then the islands, and then Haiti. And, so I got it. And then I know that America has its hands in a little bit of everything. So, I understand that too. Now, you talked about you went to college. Did you graduate?
Yeah, I went up to my master's, bro. I'm hearing an echo.
You hearing an echo?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't hear an echo. Let me. Do y'all hear an echo in the chat? Let me know if y'all hear an echo in the chat.
But I'll just continue talking, and if I hear it again, yeah, I did go to school. I went up to the master's level, so I got my master's degree.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. So as the joke on the street, so you ain't running around talking about, I got my PhD.
I'm a PhD. No, I used to have that mindset. I used to have that talking point, thinking that having a degree of any sort makes me more valuable in the dating market. And it wasn't until I started, I started like getting certain patterns and not getting my desired dating results. That's when I started like really thinking if my degrees and my career is as good as I think it is in the dating market.
Let me ask you this. With that being said, because that is a critical statement, and I think that based on how it is taught, it can be sometimes confusing to a lot of women. Like, is it anti-education? Is it anti-degree? I'm not going to put words in your mouth. What made you change from understanding that a man just wants to get to know you as the individual and not your academic success?
Well, because I was always told, and if for a woman who can relate to my story, I was always told, education is the key to success. And once you have a good education, then that will make you top notch. That will qualify you for the best man. So I didn't do anything else to prepare myself for marriage or to be a wife or even a mom. All I did was focus on my education, thinking that that's all I needed to bring to the table. So when I have a conversation, I'm not saying drop out of school or don't get your degree or, don't pursue your career. Just know that that's not it, or that's not the only thing that a man wants from a relationship.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. How would you, that's a hard conversation to have to explain to young women that your education is important. I have a daughter that's now working on her master's degree. But I also have that same daughter also wants a relationship. So she kind of understands the dichotomy of both. Nate Dogg in the house. Salute. Jordan in the house. Salute. She definitely understands both. The balance is, how do you begin to teach that? How do you begin to have women understand that? That there are men that loves an educated woman, but it's within its proper context.
I mean, it's honestly, I think amongst Black women, and when I say black, I mean Black because
Black,
Black is everywhere,
Black,
right?
right.
It's like we're taught one or the other. It's as if we're not able to multitask. We're not able to go to school and get our education while we date or while we learn to be a wife. It's as if it's like, oh, you have to do one or the other.
Right.
So it's just in understanding, hey, if you want to be a wife, the same effort you're putting into your degree, maybe put that same effort into learning these skills too. And like and not it's so silly because when I look back on my life, it's like if I knew I wanted to be married at a certain age, why wasn't I networking, going to certain events, socializing? I was just books. So it's like, be a little strategic like that, be intentional.
Let me ask you this, because I've had this conversation just last week, and people don't realize I have a lot of these conversations offline, the same conversations that I have online, because sometimes you can have an online conversation that isn't taking place offline. One of the women I was talking with, and this was an older woman, successful woman, and one of her biggest arguments was there isn't a sufficient amount of Black males. And as you know, I'm a male content creator, so I had to debunk that. But her argument was there wasn't a sufficient amount of Black males. But then she added, she has friends that has PhDs. They're in a certain type of sorority. They basically can pay for everything. They can financially do everything themselves. But I couldn't really get her in that moment. One, I was in her business, so I wasn't going to really sit there having those long conversations. But one of the biggest arguments was there isn't a sufficient amount of Black men. But she based it on the fact that these Black women had this education and all this success. How do you navigate that conversation? How do you begin to say, is there a lack of Black males? Or is it that we're not riding in the same circles? What do you think is going on in that communication?
Honestly, I think it's like, hypergamy exists no matter how much we want to deny it or how much we want to shame it. Hypergamy do exist. So a woman like who is educated, has her PhD, she probably wants a man on her level or higher. And like those men on her level probably don't want her, and then it also like based on attitude, because that's what actually opened my eyes. And it was one friend in particular. She's very successful. She's a doctor, right? And she's single as a penny. And I was like, oh, she's single. She's pretty, she's nice, she's successful in her career, but she's super single and having problems finding a relationship. And that's what made me realize, like, and then I looked at many of the friends I went to school with, and the more educated they are, as I said, I went up to the master's level, so majority of my friends are up there in that level too. But the more educated we are, like the less married, like, so it's like there had to be something. But I honestly think it's because of hypergamy. We want a man on our level or higher, and we're not willing to quote unquote settle for anybody less. And that also has to do with we weren't taught the benefits of a man. So we only look at man for, his wallet, not necessarily like all the other things that men come with and what men can do for us in a relationship. So as if he's not making equal or more than us, then we don't want him.
Let me ask you this. One of the and this is not just a YouTube argument. This is just basic economics, which is a lot of women is going to college, they're earning these degrees, but in America they're also earning student loan debt. And my argument is if a woman has 50, 60, 100K of student loan debt, and she takes her income, and we're going to argue, let's say she has an income of 100K. Well, she neutralized her whole entire income because she owes that debt, which means a dude who flipping burgers at McDonald's make economically more than she do because of the debt. Do you think that's understood, that when we talk about that level?
I think there's a lack of knowledge. I'm sorry, a lack of logic in these conversations. And we don't think things through logically. I think we're lacking foresight. Because as you say, if you have $100,000 in student loan debt and you're making $150K a year, you're basically making $50K a year because you have, you're in the hole, you have a debt.
Right.
But we don't think about it like that. All we are seeing is a $150K. So there's a huge disconnect. There's a huge disconnect when it comes to dating, and that's because the older women continue to just tell us to go to school, get education. Nobody's sitting us down and telling us to start thinking of things logically. 10 years from now, what do you want your life to look like? And plan accordingly now.
Being that you have the platform that you have, and I know you speak a lot to women, versus speaking a lot to men. Let me reverse that. Do you see that also with men, that men are not fighting to, let's say, get on that hypergamy role, in the sense of men striving to be, let's say, economically better in order to have these women? What is your experience, say, when you're seeing men today versus, let's say, men that you may have dealt with 10 years ago?
So I do see men wanting, like I see the average men wanting women who, want have the qualities and stuff. But I think it's more of the woman overlooking those average men. I think we tend to go for, again, we're lacking that foresight, we're lacking that logical thinking. So we tend to go for what we see right now. So right now, we probably see a guy that's, say, driving a luxury car versus a guy that's driving, I don't know, a regular car, an average car. We'll much rather go for the guy who's driving the luxury car without thinking, okay, is he working paycheck to paycheck? How is he paying for the car? Is he doing this? But we're quick to look over the average guy just because he's not offering the lifestyle that we desire, but we don't see his quote unquote potential.
I like that. Let's deal with that word potential, because you have again, I'm going off a lot of the conversations that I've had before. When we talk about potential, what is a woman looking for when she talks about potential? And is this a generation thing? For example, there are things that I'm Generation X, although all my brothers love to put me in the baby boomer section, but I'm Generation X. Now, how things operated in the 90s, as far as like we as men and pursuing women, that totally flipped. I'll tell anybody, in the early 90s, you can hear our music. We was the simp kings. We knew how to simp. We were simping, but we was getting rejected in the simping days. Nice guys do not finish last. I got hood conservative in the building. He gonna tell you now. He got to back me on this one. Hood conservative, back in the 90s, early 90s, man, we was simping, boy. We was some simping fools. But now, I would never tell a brother to do what we did in the 90s. More so because if you really want to go there, hey, we didn't get the reaction. We didn't get what we thought we deserved, or what we thought women wanted. Now I'm having to tell my brothers, nah, we ain't doing the simp role. You gotta be on your A game. You gotta be able to, do this, do that, lead. But even in that, I'm seeing too many brothers still not able to get what they want. Do you think there's just a gross misunderstanding in communication between the male and the female? Or is it that there's not enough of us on the platform really educating?
I think that in the Black community, there's a huge disconnect between what men want and what women think men want from a relationship. So men want, and we know, shout out to Kevin Samuels, the fit, feminine, friendly. They want submissive. They want this. They want that. We think men want educated, boss bee, partnership, we both wear the pants in, and it's like that's just like, you know, it's like we're going in opposite direction, right? We're going, women going north, men going south, and then we get so frustrated as to why we're not understanding each other. And there needs to be more platform that sit down and have a conversation, and we try to understand each other perspective rather than trying to debate. And I think there are too many platforms that we're just debating and not trying to see where the other is coming from.
Let me bring up, I normally wouldn't do this. Let me bring something that someone is saying. Gail Wright says, playing devil's advocate with how expensive things are. Can men be average? Should they? Raising a family is ridiculously expensive. One child takes $250K from 0 to 18. Average might not cut it. I think it's a good argument. What do you say?
I think it's a good argument. And I think that with that being said, and shout out to Gail, love Gail. With that being said, a lot more women need to understand that whole staying at home and not financially contributing and to the household may not be possible. You know, we got to brainstorm ways of how we can save money. So if you're staying at home to save daycare, because some of these daycares as much as the paycheck these days, right? So if you're staying at home with the kids to save money on daycare, yeah, then that makes sense. But if you're just staying at home because the man is supposed to pay all the bills and the man is supposed to do that and you shouldn't be working. So I think to Gail's point, yeah, average these days, but also as women, we need to understand, yeah, it's not back in the days where the men paying all the bills anymore. We're going to need to contribute financially, whatever that looks like. If it's you're helping him with his business, if you got a little side hustle, or if you know anything, if you're making earrings, like anything, you're going to have to contribute financially.
Let me ask you this question, because I am putting together a video, and the topic is submission. And I know that word, trust me, me and Brown Eyes get into, I want everybody to understand. Let me make it real clear. Me and Brown Eyes don't argue over words of submission. You know, she is an extremely submissive woman. Shout out to her. But that is a curse word, a serious curse word. And I'm about to tackle that word. Matter of fact, I'm using another content creator's book as the foundation for that. How do we, or what is your definition of submission? And let me throw this. Let me play devil's advocate. Take it away from Kevin Samuels' ideal of submission. What would you say or teach or educate women as to what is submission?
In my personal life, submission is just following my man's lead. So knowing that he makes the decision. He makes the important decisions. Of course, he keep my feelings into consideration. You know, keep the best interest of the family into consideration. But at the end of the day, we follow his lead. Think about it like you're driving in a car and you're in the passenger seat and he's driving. He's in the car too, so he's hoping to get us to our destination safely, but he's the one that's driving. You don't have to be telling him turn left, turn right, turn left. If he asks you, oh, do you think I should turn left or right, then you can tell him, yeah. But submission is just trusting your man's leadership. And I think a lot of Black women are triggered over the word submission because they've never experienced a man that's a good leader, that a man that can lead. And instead of saying, okay, what about me? Why I've never attracted a man that can lead? We just say Black men can't lead. And then, you know, we just say we're not going to submit then. And I think that's the main, I offer a lot of grace, as I said.
Right.
I think that's what it is. They're so against the word submission because they've never experienced a good leader.
Let me take away that grace. You know, you always say, let's have the intellectual conversation. Let's take away that word grace. In your experience, from what you're hearing out here, both on YouTube, off YouTube, I argue that there are men that know how to lead. I argue that there are men now who are learning what leadership is. And I'm definitely an advocate of teaching men about leadership and taking on that leadership role. I see the success of leadership. One, I was military trained. So I'm kind of in a different position than a lot of men that was not military trained. But I've also had the experience of knowing how to lead a wife, how to lead children, etc. A lot of my men are not able to garner that level of leadership training because it's hard for them to get women to submit to their roles in leadership. And so when I say take away grace, take it away. Have no fear to say what you really see. What's happening from your vantage point, going to school, having these conversations, you're learning various things. Is there trauma bonding going on where women are in trauma and afraid to allow the lead? Is there feminist doctrine being taught that is not being, argued against? Because I'll tell you a story later on that I know some of that doctrine is being done because my daughter had to reject it. Very quickly when she was just getting ready to go for her undergrad. She was, I told her, okay, because I was a single dad at the time. Okay, let's do this. If you want to go to a HBCU, because she wanted to go to A&T, I kind of argued against A&T, but she did want to go to a HBCU. So I said, well, okay, let's try Bennett College, being that she went to Bennett Middle College, which is an all-female school in North Carolina. We go there and, do the whole tour. I'm listening to the speeches that they giving, the parents, and it's like, okay, I don't know about all this women stuff, so fine, I'll sign the papers. She want to go. As soon as she came out, I said, well, you got all the papers you need me to sign, et cetera, et cetera. She says, no, Daddy, I don't want to go to that school. And I was like, okay, well, why? Because you wanted to go to this HBCU. And she said, because the women in there was describing men that you are not. Now, at the time she said it, it never hit me until I came to YouTube. And then I had to call her back because now, again, she's on a master's degree. And it's like, what happened just for that one day that you went? And that's when she told me. It was like every single problem they had, it was some man. As if
the patriarchy.
Right. So is that what you're seeing? Is that the experience that's happening in colleges? Because a lot of men are not going to college for various reasons.
I see that with a lot of liberal arts majors, and a lot of women are liberal arts majors. I was a liberal arts major. Shout out to liberal art majors. But a lot of women study classes and being against the patriarchy and women empowerment and all those things. So that's an interesting perspective. I find that, and when you don't know any better, shout out to you for being such a great dad where your daughter can know, wait, this isn't right.
Well,
but people like myself who weren't raised with our fathers, and all we know about men is what our moms told us and what the schools are telling us, and then what the movies are telling us, like The Color Purple, it's like that's all we have to go for. So if we don't have the example in our household, we don't know that it's incorrect. That's why I offer grace, because a lot of us, we just we don't know what we don't know until we go out to find the information on by ourselves. Now it's our responsibility to remove ourselves from the echo chamber and go seek information ourselves. And if we choose to go back to the echo chamber, then we do. If we choose to go another way, then go the other way. A lot of people aren't willing to remove themselves from the echo chamber. They're comfortable in that echo chamber.
As a male, as a father, as I'm looking at my time, I got 2 weeks to go and be a grandfather.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. What would you suggest, me being a male and being that older generation? What would be some of your suggestions for me to be an advocate or a help in breaking down this type of a conversation? because I've had, if I want to call it, one great successful YouTube video. I mean, all of them I consider successful. If I get 5 people to look at my video, that's more than I would have spoke to in a day. But you know, one of my successful YouTube videos was me having a conversation with single mothers, because I, you know, am on that side of the single father. My question would be, what is something, thank you everyone in the chat, appreciate you. What is something that you would want to see advocated from my generation to the younger generation?
I would love to see more on the men's side. I would love to see more male mentorships. A lot more men, especially to these boys who are being raised by single moms. I mean, she can be a great mom all she wants, but a woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man. No matter what you want to say, you cannot teach a boy how to be a man. So I would love to see a lot more mentorship programs from men like yourself targeted at young boys who are being raised by single moms. And I would love to see like just older people just humble themselves and come to the realization, hey, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we all can learn from somebody. Shout out to Gail, my sister wife. She said in my chat.
Look, they're making sure that I treat the sister right, you know.
Yes.
You know.
But as she said in my chat today, like, you know, an old fool or something like, what is it, like an old fool live longer than us too. So not because you're older doesn't mean that you have all the answers. So, you know, if both young and old can recognize that, hey, we're trying to learn and we're trying to change these generational cycles. So let us humble ourselves and have the conversations without getting in our feelings. That's one thing I would love to see too.
Okay, let me take it there. If you, because I'm from the male side, because I can only speak for the men. A lot of times when men talk to me, especially younger men, and I'm talking about 20, 30 something, because I had a platform where I had what I call the state of emergency, where I had every single generation of males on the platform, from baby boomer, Generation X, millennials. I think Millennial Mart TV is a Gen Z, you know, so I had them in all age groups. One of the things that kept being echoed was the mistakes of, I'm going to say it's more Generation X than I'm going to really put it on baby boomers, was the mistakes that they saw and wanted us to acknowledge and then make a course correction. What do you see argumentatively from men in my generation that we may need to do a course correction in teaching, let's say, young girls? Because like I said, I raised daughters prior to me, you know, having sons. What do you see, and what would you advocate for my generation to kind of turn and say, hey, okay, we hear you, and this is how we're going to make a course correction?
So, and that's targeting to women?
Yeah, and the reason I say that, I know that, see, I got a funny platform, and let me say why. Analytically, I definitely have more males than I have females. That's analytics. But even in the analytics, I still have a 30 to 35% women who actually hears what I have to say.
Okay.
You know, because I don't have, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I don't use 304s in none of my platforms. I just don't do that. But I am in the manosphere. I do hear a lot of what's going on in the manosphere. I do talk to, you know, my son who's getting ready to make me a granddaddy. You know, he getting ready to be 24 in about a couple more days. So, you know, I'm just so proud of him. But you know, but I do get an opportunity to talk to him, his friends. They're all in their 20s. You know, my niece is getting ready to go, you know, away to college. She's 18. You know, so I'm having these conversations offline, but I need to be more effective online. And the only way I'm going to do that is to really listen to what the people want versus what I think they should have.
One thing, the main thing I think is important is men to teach young girls how to vet. Somebody put it in a chat earlier that we weren't told to look for the man's characters. We were just told to make sure he has a house and he has a car and he has money, but we weren't told to look for his leadership skills. What are his discipline skills? Can he solve problems? Or he's going to look at you and ask you, what do you think? Is he a good decision maker? Does he have discernment? Those qualities that a masculine man who is a good leader would have, as opposed to his cars and his house and his 6 figures income. So maybe if men just start pushing that more and just like start teaching us how to vet, because a lot of us have fell for, I didn't even know what to look for. I didn't even come on, with the feminist movement and with all these things, I didn't even know I was supposed to look for a man who is disciplined or who can make a decision, who's a good problem solver. I didn't know.
That's an awesome answer, and I have no clue. I could put that together, but what you're saying, I had no clue that women did not have proper vetting skills or even the teachings of proper vetting skills.
We don't. And then that's why we choose these men who aren't good leaders. Then we get so scarred because we submitted to a man who could not lead us anywhere. And then now we're like, oh, we're not going to submit, without realizing and acknowledging that it wasn't the fact that we submitted, but it's the fact that we submitted to the wrong kind of guy.
I'm going to use that statement because her name is Danica Marie. Shout out to Danica Marie. She wrote a book on submission, and that happens to be a page that she actually stated, which was, let me see, I think I got the book. Yeah. I'm gonna use it. Danica, don't be doxing me, Danica. Don't beat me up, Danica. I'm trying to represent. I'm trying to represent Danica. Because I want to quote her right, because she said something that was really, and you kind of hit on it real good. Hold on. I'm trying to find it because I like the angle that you just said. Okay. This is from her book, y'all. This the nigga's book. But y'all will look out for that video because I'm gonna talk more about this book. She says, quote, ladies, I'm here to let you know that submission is not the enemy in your relationship. She says the enemy of your relationship is the quality of the man you are choosing to be submissive towards.
Amen.
And that to me was extremely powerful statement. That was a very powerful statement. How would you add to that statement that she said?
Honestly, I push vetting. I push learning what to look for. I push more. I'm encouraging young girls to court instead of date, because when you date, you don't set intentions. One thing the feminist movement told us, Uncle Stu, believe it or not, the feminist movement told us that when we're dating, never ask a man, never say you want a relationship because you don't want to seem too needy. So never ask a man, what are we, or what are your intentions, because you don't want to seem too needy. No, that is a setup for you to just date and you just to be on the streets hopping from man to man to man without setting any intention.
Right.
So I think, we need to be able to set intentions. We need to be able to be clear on what qualities, like your daughter, for example, she had you as an example. So she know exactly what to look for when she out there in the dating market, because she know she can't just, she know a man come sleeping on her couch. She know that's not right, because you weren't going sleeping on,
exactly.
Many of us did not have that. So we don't know what a man look like, and we don't know what to look for in a man. We think we do because we think it's just his wallet, but it's not.
That's good. Yeah, because you definitely got my wheels spinning. So I definitely understand exactly what you're talking about, what you're referring to. How do I, as a male, because I've had this issue too, which is trying to communicate to that younger generation and I'm going to put it both on male and female, but definitely if I'm talking to young women, I'm not your age, meaning dropping, you're 20 and you talking to me like I'm 20 also, and I'm not 20. And I had made the statement on another platform. I said, when I look in my comment section and I respond to every single comment written on any one of my videos, I'll get young guys, 20, in their 30s. They'll comment on the video, respectful. If they make a statement and I'm not clear about what they're really trying to say, I can go to my comment and say, hey, can you make this a little bit clear, or can you explain what you're really saying? And they'll come back and give me a whole paragraph of exactly what they got to say. Always respectful. Even if they make a cutting edge statement, they'll always say, well, Uncle Stu, I'm not really talking about you. I'm talking about either your generation, or I'm talking about baby boomers, or, and it's like, cool, I got it. But I find that when I have women come, now, not all, but I will say the nice ones is a small number versus the larger ones. I get cut down hard. And it's like, wait a minute. You don't even know me. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you come at me? And it's so funny because everybody doesn't know. My oldest daughter is really the behind the scenes of me being on YouTube. My oldest daughter was quick to say, don't be getting all mushy. She a thug on these YouTube streets. But but there was a time where me and my oldest daughter wasn't together. We had conflict, but now all that is gone. I mean, it's picking up the phone and the whole 9 yards. But it's like, where is all that coming from? Where do you think that toxicity of we just not respecting any man, no matter how old he is?
So the first relationship a woman have with the opposite sex is her dad. And if your dad wasn't sugar honey iced tea, your dad wasn't reliable, you attach that with all Black men, because Black men, your dad represents Black men. So a lot of times you'll see these women so angry towards Black men for no reason, because of their childhood trauma, because of those wounds that they didn't heal. And that is why therapy is important. Like, you need to, a lot of us are just so mindlessly walking around with our traumas, mindlessly walking around with our hurt and taking it out on other people who remind us of the person who hurt us. And my first job out of college, my coworker hated me, like, for no reason. I didn't even talk to her 2 words, but comes to find out she hated me because I looked like someone who her husband cheated with. And I was like, man, that had nothing to do with me. That had nothing to do with me, right? But it's like, a lot of times it's because our dads hurts us for whatever reason, if he really intentionally did it, or if that's what our moms told us, with him not being around, that we associated that with pain. So we see all Black men and we link it back to the pain and hurt from our dad. As I said, therapy.
I like that. Do you have any questions for Uncle Stu?
I don't have any, none that I can think of. I really like this conversation, though. One thing I want to push that you had said, you can't have a conversation with somebody who's not willing to listen. Some people will have the conversation just to debate, and I don't think debating I don't think debating will get us anywhere, because I'm debating you is to change your mind, not to understand your perspective. So, in coming across younger people who you're trying to get the message across, it would be just basically talking to a brick wall if you're trying to change their mind, right? Change only happen when you're willing to get the change, when you're willing to see when the person who you're talking to is willing to receive that change. You'll be wasting your time stressing out yourself.
Well, for me, I like to believe that I am definitely the person that hears before I speak. I have a mastermind group that, once any live that I've done, is finished, we have mastermind meetings. What do we get? Gives me a chance to relook over the video. And it's not really just for production. It's like, what may I missed in a conversation, or what did I not see? Or, they're evaluating, not necessarily the guest per se, but it's like, hey, did you catch this? Did you really, dig into this? Or, this is something you need to clip because this is very important that this person, said towards this particular subject. When we talk about this word communication and you talk about, making sure people are hearing, do you think sometimes the older generation is not hearing enough?
Yeah. I think the older generation is so stuck in the way of I am older, so I know better, I know more because I live longer. So they're not open to at least hearing a perspective. And that's just, I mean, that will never get us anywhere. Nobody is perfect. We all don't have the right answer. And isn't there a saying that says the best teacher is the best student or something like that? The best teacher is a good student.
The best teacher is a good student.
Yeah. So anybody who is like, just like listen to me because I'm older, like I personally stay away from them because what you can teach me is what you're limited to. You're only limited to your experience. So unless you're willing to learn, then you can't really teach me much.
So in other words, just because I don't want to put words in your mouth. In other words, what the older gen, because one of my advocacies when I'm speaking to anybody is I'm going to teach you my mistakes because I don't want you to make them. As I said, growing up in the 90s, we didn't know what simping was, but we was the biggest simps, growing
Shout
up
out
in
to
the
Boys
90s,
to Men.
yeah,
Shout out to
what I'm
Boys.
saying? We did the Boys to Men thing. And the whole Keith Sweat, we were begging, girl. We were begging. We had Keith Sweat making us beg for it, girl. But the whole thing is that, a lot of us thought we didn't have the manosphere. I came out of, a lot of people think I just grew up and came here, but I also came from the Million Man March. And I knew what we was advocating during the Million Man March. And one of the things that I always tell women, if you go back during that time of the Million Man March, you're going to find out that we was advocating for children. We was advocating for family. We was advocating for community. 2 years later, they had a Million Women's March. They wasn't advocating for family or community. It was advocating for themselves. I haven't had any woman to go back and do the research to find out what they was advocating for versus what we was advocating for. I give a lot of credit to my millennials, to my daughter explained it. You got older millennials because my daughter is 36. So you got the older millennials, you got the younger millennials, then you got the Gen Zs. The way they tell me these numbers break down, but one of the things that she explained to me was that the older millennials have more of the Generation X mentality. Younger millennials kind of broke away from that mentality. Gen Zs just forget it. They in a whole nother world by themselves. In theory, they just totally gone on that side. But the gone is not necessarily gone mentally. They're just not going for what the older generation got to say.
Yeah.
How do we explain that there were some things in life we could not have predicted? Because for me, I always tell my men, I'm proud of you because there's more billionaire men than was in my lifetime. There are more millionaire men than it was in my lifetime. So I'm always giving that credit. There are more Black men who has risen up in the middle class. We know this statistically, so I'm seeing the success, but there still seems in certain ways that breakdown.
Yeah.
So how do we switch that breakdown? I like what you said earlier about it's time to teach women how to vet. I like that. How do we fight that breakdown?
I think right, breakdown for what, on women's side or just on both sides?
Let's do it two different ways. Let's start with the men because again, I had to talk to my brothers, but then let's also, because again, I feel that I'm obligated to talk to both groups now, because one, I'm obligated on the man side because I am a man and I know how to be a man and how to walk as a man. But I also am being graced to have the experience in dealing with women, because, outside of brown eyes, I got nieces out here, and I'm like, I keep telling them I'm on welfare. I don't know why they think I'm rich, but I'm that uncle and whatnot. So
rich uncle.
yeah, I'm a rich. Yeah, it's like, nah, I'm broke. I get welfare, y'all. Stop playing. I got your aunt out there working 2 jobs so I can play PlayStation. But I still have to be the overseer, and I'm using that overseer word lightly, of women, because it's like I do see women in their ignorance and I'm trying to explain things to them. So maybe it could be me and my communication could be off. So let me learn from you.
So the for the men, right? We live in a society today that tries to suppress masculinity and calls it toxic masculinity. And if men aren't getting on women's pages, then they are toxic. So I think the breakdown is when men step away from their role as masculine men to pander to women. So I would encourage you to tell them to, be proud of your masculinity, stand in your masculinity, be true to yourself, right? No matter what society and the feminist movement tells you. The breakdown on the female side is because we can pay our rent. Now we think we don't need a man because we can, we drive our little luxury car. We think we don't need a man. Think years from now, have foresight. So 10 years from now, do you want to be sitting on your bed every morning, you waking up alone with your cats and dogs? Or do you want a man? If you want a man, you're going to have to do some things now to get you there. So not because you're happy now in your singleness, don't mean you're going to be happy 10, 20 years from now in your singleness. So I think foresight is extremely important for Black women in this day and age.
Okay. Because you said something, and appreciate you, Bucket 88, for the $10 super chat. Thank you. You said something, and as I told you, I sickness or in health, I'm always around on these YouTube streets somewhere. You gave an argument that a lot of men are now also arguing, and you have a female platform in the sense of you being the woman. There's a big argument of, well, we got female in these male spaces. They're talking about, male issues or dating issues. And everyone is saying, well, you men is supporting these female platforms. You don't feel validated unless these women platforms validate you. How do you argue that perspective? Because that's an argument that's given, and then I'm hearing you saying, hey, men need to stand in their own masculinity. How do you kind of argue? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Am I explaining it right?
So let me answer it and then tell me if I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I don't believe that. So if we're talking about men's spaces, we're talking about the manosphere, more specifically, the Black manosphere. From what I understand, the Black manosphere is for men. So I don't think women should be over here in the Black manosphere. Now, there's a thin line because people will say I'm in the manosphere because of my channels, topics and stuff. But I don't consider myself in a manosphere because that's the men's space. Like when you have the men over there, back in my culture, when you had the men playing dominoes and drinking beer, to not go over there because that's a men's space.
Look, you don't know nothing about playing bones, do you? I got some bones back here now. You and Courtney, y'all done said it twice now.
It's so funny. the other days, that's when I learned that you guys call it bones here. We call it dominoes.
Yeah, you call it dominoes. We call it bones. Yeah.
No. Hear this, Uncle Stu. If me and my sisters and my aunts are over there playing dominoes, does it mean that we're in the men's space, or does it mean that we're just playing dominoes
right,
as women, right? So
mm-hmm.
I find it odd when people try to like I can't speak for any other female content
Right.
creator, but I am not in the manosphere, and I have no
Right.
interest in being in the manosphere, because I strongly believe that men need their space to voice their opinion and to have men talk. I mean,
Right.
y'all talk different anyways. Like, we all say some things and y'all tone sometimes shoot. Like, y'all tone be triggering me when you're not talking about me.
Well, see, that's a great answer, because
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm one that listens to many different arguments. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether I agree with the argument or not is different. You know, so I'm one that says, well, you know, I can support this content creator because, you know, I like the fact that they're advocating, they're arguing, they hold their position, even if I don't fully agree with everything they say.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that they saying it, because I understand that the voice of the Black male has not been heard at all.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't
Mm-hmm.
listen to us back in the 90s. They didn't listen to us in 2000. You know, so it's like, okay, because I know they didn't listen, then I come in this space and I'm seeing my brother say, Uncle Stu, look, stop talking to these women. They're not going to listen. Trust me, I can show it to you in my comments. They're not going to listen. Just teach us, get us right. We out of here, Uncle Stu. We out. We gone. I mean, I've got them where it's like, okay, there is no talking to him about trying to stay with the Black woman. Now I gotta get him into the Black diaspora. You know, that's why I like had to hang out with the passport bros. Like, okay, if I can't keep him here, can I keep him in Jamaica? Can I take him? You know, where can I take my brothers? Because they are frustrated. But you know, at the same time, you know, the question that we had to deal with last week, and so I'm gonna bring you that question. The platform, hey, and Dale Homestead, welcome. The biggest question that was really asked is the Black woman worth saving? And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna let you give that answer, but I will have a platform next week that's also gonna tackle that. But I felt that was a powerful question. Is the Black woman here in America worth saving?
I would say you can't save people who don't want to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't want to be saved, you will kill yourself trying to save somebody who does not want to be saved. So there are Black women who are starting to wake up. That's why I focus on younger generation, young girls, because they are not as scarred and bitter as the older one. There are some ones who are starting to wake up, starting to hear the message. But I don't think it should be a man's responsibility to try and wake up anybody, not even man or woman. It should not be your responsibility to wake up anybody or to try and change anybody's mind. We're our own person. We're in Jamaica, we'll say we're our own big old man. So you need to like, that's on you. You live in your life. I'm not trying to and I can see that it's stressing some men out, trying to and they have a good heart, trying to make these Black women see things from their perspective and try to make these Black women understand. But I mean, is it worth it though? You got one life to live. You don't want to be living your life stressed out over some women who think that they don't need you. Just, as you say, get your passport. I mean,
Right. And I'm asking that because, see, you know, I'm very open. I come from two different sides of that same argument. So I like to say I'm equal. Intentional Millionaire knows we have these behind the scenes conversations all the time. I'm either talking to him, or I'm talking to Perry Unlikely, or I'm talking to Before the Billions, or, you know, shout out to my mentor, El Guapo, you know, so I'm having these conversations even out here. Brown Eyes knows, and I've said it all the time, if she ever left, I ain't dating an American Black woman. I'm out. I'm done. I'm finished. Yeah. I'm done, you know, but I think the question was so deep that it really needed to be kind of hashed out And I'll admit, when they had the panel discussion, they really had an intellectual discussion. It was not just a bunch of angry black men who just calling women out their name. It was, hey, we're frustrated. We got our financial life together. We out of here. I'm gonna do one of somebody that said it in the chat. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I hope I don't get clipped for this and everybody be thinking I'm on the devil's advocate side. But here goes the devil's advocate. You'll have black women that say black women had stuck with the black man during the 80s, which is the crack era, stuck with the black man in the 90s, which would be considered the prison pipeline. I don't know what in the world they're saying about the 2000s, but now black men is saying, listen, we ain't sticking around for no 30 years waiting on black women to get their, sugar, honey, iced tea together. We out. What do you say for that kind of an argument?
I think it would be on an individual basis. I always say focus on your household, focus on, you become the best version of yourself, and I hope that you find somebody who's also becoming the best version of themselves, and then just, move together. I think in trying to save the community as a whole, it's not it's not in your best interest. Just individually, you Uncle Stu over there, you are producing great 2-parent household. Your kids are producing great 2-parent household. I'm over here producing 2-parent household, and that's how we just focus on it individually. It's not my place to go next door and go convince Susie to stop having kids with the neighborhood Dusty, right? It's not my place to tell her. Like, let her do whatever she want to do, right? And I think when we think about it like that, we'll stop getting so frustrated at these random women on YouTube that's just, talking all this crap. Yeah, you just know you don't date them. They're just highlighting, showing you who not to date.
How are you feeling now? Because I know you had your live stream, so how you feeling?
No, I'm good. This is a good conversation. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, let me. If anybody got a question, for Chantel, please put a Q in the chat, and we'll try to get those questions answered. And definitely keep the conversation going. Let me see. Yeah, we got a lot of people in the chat today. Yeah, and I'm gonna let y'all know I'm doing what every other content creator do. The super chats gets those questions answered first. We do have that. Let me make it real clear. Brown Eyes is not letting me have another sister wife. That's it. I can't be like Idris and have 2 wives. That Brown Eyes ain't going for that. She ain't going for that. So for all the women in the chat that's getting ready to try to get me, Brown Eyes ain't gonna let me have no sister wife. So I can't go to Jamaica and get me a wife. She ain't gonna let me go to Trinidad and get a wife. I can't go to Africa and get one. So look, you see. So I'm stuck with the one wife, fellas. I'm stuck with the one wife. But if anybody got any questions in the chat, feel free to put it up there. All right, you put a Q, but you didn't give me a question.
While we wait on a question, I always have to stress. Okay. Because I don't want a lot of these men go get their passport and then they end up in Jamaica disappointed as hell.
Well, let me, I'll help you. I'll be the male that'll tell you. First of all, let me get real blunt. There isn't as many black men running to get their passport as people would think. There's only a select few, because you have to get your passport, you have to pass all of the all the background checks to get one. Okay. I have one because I'm military, so I can go anywhere in the world anytime I want to. But a lot of brothers are not really running to get a passport. a lot of brothers don't have, now when I say the finances, you have to understand that, let's say somebody, I'm gonna just use myself as the example, I get a check that never ends. So I can sit here and go overseas and live off of the American dollar and I'm good. If you don't have, the language skills, if you don't have, certain things that's going to allow you to even migrate into another country, you're not going to be successful anyway. So that still is a conversation that needs to be had. And I do plan to have that because there is successful men who are doing that. And like I said, I was in those circles, so I know they're doing it. I know what countries they're dealing with. But me going overseas, I also know you still got to be a man over there too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's protecting malehood in other countries is the laws. So if you run overseas and you bring that woman back to America, she's under American laws. So it turns out to be totally different. So the number is not really out here as big as people may think, but the option definitely is out here.
But something I want to add too, the feminism is spreading. It's a poison that has been spreading throughout a lot of countries and a lot of cultures. So, lots of times men will think, she's foreign, so let me get me a foreign girl because she's more traditional. It does not work like that. I have a lot of friends in Jamaica. I did high school in Jamaica, so I still have a lot of friends in Jamaica, and they are as equally as bad as some of these feminists here in America. So it's I don't know what it will take to get majority of the Black woman traditional, but we just cross fingers and hope.
Well, I will say this. For me, my argument is if I can change the mind of 10%, I've done my job and I can go home in peace. 10% doesn't seem like a large number, but if I can get 10% of men and 10% of women and be able to do that, then I feel my work is done. I recognize that, and I say this all the time, on and off the platform. Yes, I have a great wife. Yes, I have a great family. But I also know that's a rarity. I know that my woman is a rarity. And, guys that know me off the platform, they hear me say it all the time. And when I say people know Brown Eyes, it's like they can pick up the phone. I always got this inside joke. I say, I'm the YouTuber. How is it that all these other YouTubers call here and they want to talk to you over me? I'm the YouTuber. Yeah. Look, your sister wife, your other sister wife, if I go to her channel, they already got it. Uncle Stu canceled on her channel. So I can't even go hang out with Gail at night. I get canceled. Brown Eyes is the one that can be on her channel. So what that tell you? I get punked wherever Brown Eyes go, I get punked. You know what I'm saying? So, I got to just hang out my little corner right here. But the question is, for young women who weren't raised by or around their fathers, do you recommend that they have other men in their lives, brothers, uncles, cousins, friends, etc., help in the vetting process?
I think men can see things that we can't see as women. I think we tend to be more caught up in the emotional fairy tale. Oh my gosh, he's tall, and not actually look at the important things. So I would recommend, even if it's honestly, if you can't think of a man in your family that you trust, try going to a pastor that you trust. Try, even if it's a male friend that you trust, or someone that you trust, to at least see the guy that you're dating. Because men can see things that a lot of times that we unfortunately can't see until it's too late.
Okay. And look, and then I got an inside joke. Since you said you want me to be the man to help a woman vet, somebody said something in the chat, but I'm gonna get to Kareem because that's your sister right here from Jamaica. So I'm gonna get to Kareem. but then I'm gonna say something and I gotta get them. So I'm gonna help you. Kareem says, what are your thoughts on women shooting their shot first, making the first move? If a woman shoots her shot, did he choose her or she choose him?
I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman shooting her shot first. You know, you put it out there, you send shooting signals, and you show that you're interested, especially in this day and age with that Me Too movement. Men, I can understand why men are hesitant to shoot their shot, but no, it comes down to who pursues who or who initiates. You know, if you shoot your shot and then you're always saying, "Oh, let's do this," like, you know, like it's a different energy.
Right.
It's a different energy with who is leading with the getting to know each other. So you just gotta be pay attention to that. But girl, if you want to slide in his DM, slide right in.
Slide right in. Listen, I got jokes. Now I got somebody that says he gonna take you away from Idris. He know that you love Idris. But he said that he said he got the money. He got the finesse. He in the gym working out. You know what I'm saying? And he said he gonna make more than Idris. So
but does he have the accent though? Does he have the accent though?
Listen. My man before the billion said Chantel looking nice. Before the billion said he got his swag on. He said he got his swag on. He said, you know, Gail at night, she can handle Idris by himself. But he coming, he shooting his shot. Yo, before the billions, I got you. Before the billions, I got you, bro. It's me and you. Uncle Stu got you. Yeah. Let me see. Where my little thing go? Okay, there you go. See if we got any more questions. Let me see. Now, I do agree. I'm gonna go back to that shooting a shot, and I'll say this to you as well as women definitely listening. Today's times, I don't know if I can tell my men to really step up and really take that shot because it's very dangerous. Now I'll say to men right now, in the 90s, even in the early, I'll say more of the 90s, the stuff that people's being accused of, we ain't never heard of that stuff before. Never heard of it. You know, you just can say hi to a woman and she either say hi or bye. And you keep it going. You know, you can go to work and I'm gonna tell you my experience. I ain't never seen half the stuff that they talking about, but it's like 20 years later, someone can come after you 20, 30 years later and accuse you of stuff. I said this to Brown Eyes and she'll confirm it. You know, Brown Eyes got a high position, you know, decent job. And I've said to her, and she knows a lot that goes on in these YouTube space. I said, there's going to come a time where you're going to go to work and men ain't going to talk to you. And it ain't you. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, don't even take it personal. It ain't you. That's how dangerous it's getting. You know, I had to tell my son, don't share nothing that you do with your woman. Nothing. You know, as far as you're concerned, you treat your woman bad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because a woman can turn around and just because you treating your woman good, she'll do something to get your job messed up off of that. And that is something that is not talked about a lot. Are you seeing that a lot, or is this just a YouTube news thing?
No, it's happening a lot, and we don't talk about it because, you know, sisterhood loyalty, girl code loyalty, never call out a woman. So we only focus on how bad the patriarchy is, but we're not talking about how toxic these feminine women can be. I mean, you have situations where if a man rejects a woman, then she just say, "Oh, he harassed me." Like, you know, like they can just play victim for nothing. So like, I understand why these men aren't approaching anymore. Like, we saw a case the other day where the girl was in the gym taking off her shirt and the guy just looked over and she's like, "Oh," you know, like, it's understandable why these men aren't doing or aren't approaching anymore.
Right. Taylor Easy says, What would you tell a woman that met a man that she wants to submit to, but does not believe in something she believes in? For example, the Me Too movement or another movement. What should she do?
So if you meet a man and you guys aren't aligned with certain beliefs, if
Yeah, because I'm kind of confused. Tell it easily. Make sure if I'm understanding your correction, or I mean your question, are you asking if a woman wants to be submissive, but the man doesn't believe in the Me Too movement or other theories or philosophies? Is Can you just clarify your question? Because I want your question to be answered. And before the billions want you to know, Chantel, he has a very good American accent. You know, he said he ain't got that Idris Elba British stuff, but he coming. He coming.
but to answer to where I think Taylor, what I think she's asking, you submit to somebody and you guys aren't compatible. It's tough. That's why it's important to make sure that you're compatible with the person, whether it be religious beliefs, political beliefs, anything. You like when people hear submit, we're not saying just submit to the first guy that you go on a date with and then just submit. You're supposed to be submitting to your husband, first of all, following your husband's leadership because you're under his protection.
Right.
And hopefully, before you marry your husband, you make sure that you guys are compatible with certain things. And I shared this on my channel the other day. I was hearing a story of a couple who got divorced because 5 years in the marriage, he wanted kids, she didn't want any kids, and she always knew she didn't want any kids. He always knew he wanted kids. And I'm like, that's first date or at least second date questions. Like,
Right.
the importance of being compatible with each other before we get married isn't pushed enough. So hopefully that answers her question.
Okay. Yeah, because I would also say another conversation that has to take place is financial.
Mm.
You know, I think if we're not having a real down to earth financial questions,
Mm-hmm.
that really needs to be talked about because after the passing of my father, Intentional did a YouTube about it. I was on Dr. Thunder. We kind of hinted around it, but you got to have those conversations about money, living wills, regular wills, prenups. We always think of prenups as being for the rich, when in fact, no, there's a lot that needs to be done in a prenuptial situation. And it doesn't necessarily mean because your marriage is going to end up in divorce. If one of you pass away, it can be disastrous as to where finances and money goes. So yeah, that's definitely a conversation. Let me see. I think this is more of a comment. Let me see. The woman must show in the early stages that she is feminine and submissive. Let me take this on. The reason I'm going to take this one on is because I think that, and I plan to have this conversation on my panel next week because it is very important. One, there's a difference between femininity and submissiveness. And as a father, yes, my daughters are feminine, but submissiveness is not something I'm going to recommend my daughters to do to every single man. You be submissive to the one that is a leader, the one that you belong to. You just can't. I'm going to back up what Brown Eyes would even say. Every woman can't submit to every man. And as a man, there are some men who should not be submitted to. Why? If you don't have a vision, you don't have a level of success, and success is your resume of success, you're going to lead her straight to hell. And I've seen too many men leading women straight to hell. But femininity, yeah, I'm going to give you that 100%. I think that the words we tend to mix up is femininity, respect, and submissiveness. And I think, there's a term in certain sectors of the manosphere, selective submission. And I think we're confusing submission with selective femininity, or selective respect. But again, I think that's a deeper dive question. But I wanted to take that on because I do understand where it's coming from. Where guys are saying, hey, I want the respect of being a male, and I want the respect of leadership. And so she's not following my leadership, but I want my men to know when we talk about leadership, my question to you is going to be, where are you leading her to? You're not a leader because you have something in between your legs. You have you know what I'm saying? You have a leadership because you have a vision. In my house, I have a vision. I know, let's just say with this platform, I know where I want this platform to be 1 year from today. So I can sit down and say, this is where I want this platform to be 1 year. And this is what, these are the plans or the steps in order to make that happen. Her submissiveness comes in because she is sub the mission. In other words, there might be areas where she can step in and do part of the planning or part of the mission because she understands the end goal and the end results. Same thing with finances. If I know, hey, 1 year from now, we are going to own 3 homes, how are we going to do it? I have the vision. I write the vision, make it plain so they that read it can understand. She can look at the vision, see where we're going, and she can sub the mission of where we are going. But there's no way in the world I can sit up here and tell her, listen, baby, me and Intentional, we about to do this demo. We got Before the Beans. He's gonna DJ, and when this demo come out, we gonna make it big. And all of us, with the exception of Before the Beans, is over 40. Like, that just ain't gonna work. So, I think that I think we tend to mix up 3 words. So I don't want to belittle what he's talking about because I understand, but I think we're mixing up words.
But then
saying that
to even add, I think you can show that you can be submissive in the dating stage, because if say you guys are choosing a restaurant and she's just extremely combative, then that was clear sign that she probably gonna be combative. So not necessarily she should submit to you because you're not her husband, but she can show signs that she is a submissive woman.
Got you. I agree. Good statement. Good question. Come on, y'all. Cause I need y'all to bring it up now. I'll be watching some of y'all in the other people's chats. Boy, y'all be blowing it up. All right. He gave you a thank you. Ray, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And it says, thank you, sis, at Chantel. So thank you for your answer.
Thanks, Ray.
Because I never want people to think that, like you, I'm combative or have the full authority, but I do give a perspective. And, the one thing I got to say I love about my comment section, when they come back, and they comment, they don't really comment to attack. They may say, well, Uncle Stu, XYZ, like when I talked about the red pill section, oh man, that was the funniest day I ever had because they was coming back. Uncle Stu, red pill, we got levels to this thing. They got to know the levels. It's like, yo, I got you. Y'all spit me the levels. I got it. I'm here for you. So my brothers know I love them. Not sure how to put it other than I want to submit to a man. Okay. I'm afraid because we might have different beliefs about what we should fight for or do. Great statement. It looks like I'll be putting up a thumbnail for next week, Monday. and I'm gonna say Chantel Simone inspired this. Let me see if I can take this on. I do like the fact that you said I want to submit to a man and I am afraid. That's the key word that got me. Being afraid. I say do not be afraid of who you are as a woman. And I'm going to take the argument that you are a woman who is already predetermined to want to be, as Chantel even said earlier, you want to be in a committed relationship. You want to be submitted. You want to have, things happen for you where you don't have the weight of the world on your shoulder. A good man will take all of that into perspective. So what do I mean? Let's go with different beliefs. Instead of saying different beliefs, understand each other. Why do you think the way you think? I always say if somebody can get me from point A to point C in their thinking, I may not agree, but if they can show me how they got there, I can kind of follow that lead or follow that conversation. You can have a successful relationship and still have two different beliefs. So let me use me as an example. I'm a hardcore Republican. I am a hardcore conservative. I am very conservative. Brown Eyes is a Democrat. Brown Eyes, I will say, is more of a moderate, but she tends to lean more liberal in her thinking. My son, yeah, he Republican. We got that conservative thing going on. But his woman is also a Democrat and tends to lean kind of on the liberal moderate side. So we have different beliefs about different things, but we understand why we think the way we do. So it doesn't become really a fight or a change. It just means when we go to the voting booth, she's going to vote one way, I'm going to vote a different way. But that doesn't separate us in what we're doing, together. Another way of looking at it, believe it or not, the deletion of children. She has one view over what happened in the Supreme Court. I have a totally different view of what happened in the Supreme Court. Again, we have two totally different beliefs. Ironically, if I took everything I believed, everything she believed, and everything we don't believe, we have more of our beliefs being one than we have our beliefs being separate. So I would say for you, I would like to dig deeper into that question. It's a very good question. And when I say dig deeper, kind of where your beliefs are and who you're communicating with. And again, mature men have mature men conversations. What do you say?
Yeah, I think the issue falls in when you don't respect each other's perspective and respect that everybody have a different personal life experiences, and if you can just accept each other's differences, then I don't see where it will have a problem. There's, as Selma said in the chat, you find the areas where you're more compatible with and build on it, as opposed to thinking that the person needs to think like you 100%.
Yes, I totally agree. It was another one. Salute to Barry Hamilton. Salute. Okay, he had a question. Let me see. It was in the midst. Okay. The question is, if a woman talks about her education debts on the first couple of dates, would that be seen as a red flag? Let me ask you this question, and then I'm gonna wait for your response. Is she talking about her education as a way of dominance, or is she talking about it as a way of insecurity? I just got kind of briefed on this argument just the other day. There are some women that may talk about their education, but they talk about it because they have low self-esteem. That's something I wasn't aware of. So I'm going to say I had to learn that. While there's others that talk about it in the sense of dominance, like I got a PhD, therefore I can run a house, I can do this, and you can't tell me nothing because I got this. So that would be my humble answer. Now, you said two things. You said a woman talks about her education debts on the first couple of dates. Now, I'm gonna say if you're communicating, okay, I'll use myself. I didn't know Brown Eyes education until maybe the second, third time that we've communicated, but it wasn't really top of the line priority. Brown Eyes has a master's degree. So it wasn't a conversation like, well, I got a master's degree, so I can run a household. It was more of, I got a master's degree and this is what I do on my job. And that was basically it. But I knew Brown Eyes femininity. I knew her womanhood. I knew, I was super vetted. Lord knows I went through a vetting process. So I need y'all to know I met every woman in her family. I had to meet all of her sisters, the kids, the nieces, the nephews, aunts from out of state. I was vetted like a mother jumper, and inside joke, I can't give her back. I try to call her Pops, Pop, can I give her back? She's a little bit too expensive, and they're like, I can't give her back. So we stuck together, y'all. But no, on a serious note, I would say if she's constantly talking about her education every single date and the debts, I think I would have a problem with that. Let me see. Trying to make
if
sure
I can answer.
Yeah,
if
please
she
do.
I think it depends on the, like, okay, if she's talking about her education debt, to tell you a heads up, like, hey, I'm dating for marriage, and when we become one, you're going to, these debts come with me. So she's telling you
We
about
come
the
as a
debt.
package.
We a package deal 2 for 1.
Yeah, 2 for 1. You take me on. I got about $100,000 worth of debt.
If she's telling you that to give you a heads up, that's another perspective. Because it's so funny because finances are one of the leading cause of divorces.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of married couple won't even discuss financial, like, debts that you come to the relationship with. So I can only imagine, a man marrying a woman and she has $200K in student loan debt. And before you know it, because they are now seen as one, he has 200,000 in student loan debt. So I think those conversations are important. So it depends on context. Why is she telling you about her student loan debt? As Uncle Stu said, is it to boast about, oh, I got a PhD, so I can do all this? Or is it to say, like, hey, heads up, we got a whole house in my name?
Yeah. I mean, because intentional millionaire, I mean, that's like his pet peeve, pet peeve. So, that's definitely, he has those conversations on his platform, and behind the scenes, people don't realize that's his pet peeve. So it's like, hey, if y'all not having these financial conversations, you ain't got a relationship. So I totally agree. Salima says to submit is not to be servient. We are mixing the two during the dating and vetting process. There should be areas where there are compatibilities. Find a strong area and build on it. I agree. And again, what I'll say is that, yes, we are mixing up the two words, but unfortunately, I'm going to say, Ms. Haywood, yeah, I got to stand on my square. Women are the ones that's mixing those two words. They're the ones that's being taught that submission is slavery. They're the one that's being taught that submission is control, when submission is nowhere near control. I do not control Brown Eyes. I don't sit up there and control her money and control, that's not how that works. She enjoys the fact that she doesn't have to pay bills. She enjoys the fact that, she can Take her money in. Love the show. You found a new fan. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She enjoys, certain benefits that come with submission. Now, I got sick and I couldn't run the house the way I would normally run the house. So she stepped up and ran the house. But as soon as I got well, boy, she was quick to give up them reins. I'm going to tell y'all, she was quick. She was like, well, I tried to do this with the fish and I tried to do this and, but no, I love her. And, we will have that conversation. And I think a lot of women do think submission is control. And it does need to be a elongated conversation to really understand what that really is, that it's not control and he's not trying to beat you up and, he's leading. He doesn't, another area of submission is, hey, I don't want you to wear certain clothes because it's going to attract certain attention and you could put you and me in harm's way. Now if you want to run out here, what'd you call them? The long boobies? you out here wearing it and showing
long titties.
Look, I can't do that accent. The long titties, it's like, you gonna get both of us hurt out here. So I really think it does need to be taught. I agree. Submission is actually freedom. I didn't understand that in my younger years. Kareem, Kareem 23 with a 21-year-old. We're still trying to figure that out. Can't tell Kareem now, But I really do think that is a we got to really talk. I do love the fact that you said there needs to be a conversation about teaching women how to vet men. I think that's awesome. And I'm definitely going to do that starting next week, trying to, not really come from, hey, this is Uncle Stu, this is daddy, daddy gonna talk to you and we're gonna have some hardcore conversations. You're gonna get my chat blown up though, because my brother's gonna be like, oh, Stu, we told you when we out here talking these women, they hard-headed. They don't want to listen, Uncle Stu. They don't want to listen, but they still rock with me. So I'm still holding on to them. But does anybody have any more questions in the chat?
I actually have to run.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm about to do. Shut it down. But if you need to run like right now, I'm getting ready to shut down this platform. El Guapo's namesake, the beautiful lie. Submission has never meant weakness. Weak people can't submit. They can only surrender. Submission is when a full, capable, mature woman willingly yields to a man she trusts to protect, provide for their family. Hey, that right there is going to end it. Chantel, I want to thank you so much for coming and hanging out with Uncle Stu and his panel. And, this has been a very beautiful conversation. Very beautiful conversation. I learned a lot, and I'm going to put in a lot of the things that you said that I learned into practice. So I really want to thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Stu. It means a lot for to have me on, and it was really a good conversation. I'm gonna rewatch it because we did drop a lot of gems in here. So thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for having your channel. As I said, we need more positive Black male role model in the Black community. So shout out to you for having your channel.
Oh, thank you. And to everyone in the chat, I want y'all to know, I want to thank each and every single one of y'all that came here today. Again, you could have been anywhere on these YouTube streams, but you came here tonight to hang out in the Jamaican circle. Big up to you, but ladies and gentlemen, you make sure you come back Wednesday. We're going to have another deep dive conversation with We Need to Talk, and we're going to get deeper into the question about trying to save the Black community one couple at a time. Love y'all. Peace.